Hey, what's up you guys? Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. My name is Dorinda, and today we are going to be going over all the books I read in February. Now, I cannot believe I did this, but I read 11 books in February. It's literally the shortest month and I read 11 books, but I did read quite a few short books, so that's probably why. We have quite a lot of books to talk about, so let's just jump right in. So the first book that I read in February was The Words We Lost by Nicole Deese, which is actually a Christian romance, which is really fun and exciting. I feel like I haven't read a lot of Christian romance and I want to get into more Christian romances. And I actually saw not this one, but the second book in this series on TikTok. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to pick it up. I'm going to try it out. And I really, really liked it. I feel like Nicole Deese's writing style is really, really easy to understand and very descriptive. The Christian elements were really well done. I feel as if sometimes when I read Christian romance books, it can kind of be like pushy, or you're like adding Christian elements just to add them, but not making it very natural, flowing really easily into the book. And I felt like the way that Nicole Deese wove in the Christian elements in this book was really well done. We are following our main character Ingrid, who is an editor, and she's having a hard time ever since her best friend Cece passed away. And she's been really struggling, and her boss is ready to fire her. And at the same time, we're also following Cece, who was the friend who passed away's cousin, coming into town. He has a letter from Cece that she wrote before she passed away, and in that letter, Ingrid believes that Cece has hidden the final manuscript that they need for the fantasy book series that she was writing, because before she passed away, she was writing the final book in her fantasy series, and the boss is like, I need that book. I need you to go read that letter, go get that package, go get that manuscript, and you can get your job back. So we're following this plot line, and there's like the second chance romance between Ingrid and Joel, and honestly, the romance isn't too heavy in this book. I definitely feel like the plot was more of the main point in this book, and the romance was just kind of like on the side, like we're kind of roughly following that, but I really enjoyed it. I definitely think I was a little bit bored towards the end, but that's probably because I was reading this during my like reading only romance books for a week, and I'm not like a huge romance book fan, so I feel like I was kind of having like a burnout. But overall, I thought the plot was actually really interesting, but I think that if I read it when I wasn't in this like romance constantly reading time of my life, I feel like I would have enjoyed it more. But overall, I think it's a great book. I definitely think you should try it out. I did rate this book 4 stars, so I do think it's like a good book. It's like it's above average, but I definitely think I would have been more interested maybe if I read it at a different time. But I think overall it was a great book. All right, next book that I read, I actually don't have because my mother-in-law is actually borrowing it, and it's The Bright Years by Sarah DeMoff. Now, this book was so good. I rated this at 4.75 stars. It wasn't a 5-star because there was just a little bit that was missing from the book that was giving that 5-star feeling. I also think the writing wasn't the best. It was really good, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't just like amazing. I feel like there was just a little bit missing from it. I can't remember exactly what it was. I feel like it was just not as descriptive as I wanted. It was just very like blunt and cut and paste. Cut and paste. I don't know if that's the right word, but it was very blunt and to the point at certain points. It is a very short book, and we are following 3 different generations of a family, the Bright family. So I do think that the author didn't have much time to describe things. She only really like plopped us into these people's lives at certain points just to get the gist of the family. We're essentially following this family, and we see how addiction in particular can affect generations after generation, and it was just so beautiful. I just found myself connecting to these characters so intimately, even in such a short period of time. I was really surprised about that. I do really enjoy also how we explored grace and forgiveness in such a hard topic. I think like when it comes to addiction's a hard thing to deal with, whether it be like alcohol addiction or any other type of addiction, especially in this case it was alcohol. The way that we explored loving other people and forgiving other people through an addiction, still loving the person but also hating the addiction, hating the sin, is just, it was so beautifully well done. I really, really enjoyed it, and I highly recommend it. It's like I said, it's a really quick read. I know it's a debut novel as well, which is just honestly so well done to Sarah DeMoff for doing such a great job. So I highly recommend that you pick that book up. The next book I read was actually on my Kindle, and I'm actually going to lump 2 of them together, and it's the Unselected Journals of Emma M. Lyon, the volume 2 and volume 3. I love these books. I think I rated this volume 2 like a 3.75 star, and then volume 3 a 4 star. I think that the more that you read these, the more that you come to love Emma. We are essentially in the Victorian time period, and we are reading journal entries from Emma, who is just a young lady in this time period, and she is just so witty. She is so funny. There's like romance elements in it because there is like a lot of different prospects in this book, and it's just so fun to like kind of like guess. Like there's a lot of guys that she like is interacting with and has friendships with. I also love her friendship friendship with her maid and also her other friends like Mary, and I think it's like Arabella as well, which is her cousin. I really love it. I think Emma is just so funny. She has me cackling sometimes, and I love her. Like, she's just so fun to follow, and I just highly recommend it. I do read it on my Kindle. I read it at nighttime. It puts me in the best mood before bed because there's not a lot of stakes. It's not scary. There's not a lot of tense things that you're reading about. It's just really easy-go-lucky, fun pieces of life that you're reading. I don't know. I just really love it. I highly recommend it. You should definitely pick them up if you're interested. I feel like when I first was reading the volume 1, I was kind of like, okay. And then like the more you read, you're like, wow, I'm really loving this. So highly recommend. All right, so the next book that I picked up was Fallen City by Adrienne Young. And now listen, if you've seen any of my other videos, especially like the 26 and 2026, I think I like honed in on this. Like, I love Adrienne Young. She has her own little section on my bookshelf. I love her writing. I think she does a really good job of having like atmospheric writing. A lot of her books are more of like mystery romance books, which I think is like her bread and butter, her cup of tea. Even like the Fable, the young adult fantasy novel that she wrote was really, really good. This, not good. I like feel so bad saying it. I rated this like 2.75 stars. Honestly, I could probably like lower it, but I love Adrienne Young, so I did want to like be generous with my rating. This book was just so boring. I remember reading this book and I was just sitting in my chair and I was looking at my bookshelf and I had this overwhelming sense of like dread looking at my bookshelf. Like, do I even like reading? Do I even like this? Like, why do I even like to read? It literally made me contemplate my reading life, like the way I like to read. We are thrown into this Roman fantasy world and we are following two different characters who are kind of like on the opposite side. Like, we are smack dab starting the middle of this book into a war that we really don't know anything about or could care less about. And there are like chapters where we go back in the past to try to like see and learn the history and like how we got to this war. But honestly, I could care less. I feel like it was just random and I just feel like it didn't make sense. And the chemistry between the two main characters just was not there. And I could care less. I was dragging teeth trying to get through this book. And it's not even that long. It's not even that long. I think it's like 300 or so pages. But honestly, it was a really bad read. It's just, I'm really, really sad about it. Like I said, I love Adrienne Young, so I'm really sad about it, but I don't recommend it. I think that like maybe you might like it, but honestly, it wasn't my favorite book. So really sad about that one. All right, and next book that I picked up was Gentle and Lowly by Dane Ortland. Now this book I actually was reading and listening to over like an extended period of time. And this is a Christian fiction book, and it essentially is talking about who Jesus is, who God is, and who his heart is towards sinners. I highly recommend this book, especially if you're a Christian. If you are struggling with how God sees you in your sin, or you're still battling with the sin and you feel really ashamed of it and you're scared to go to God with it, I highly recommend you read this book. It really just talks about how like God loves us, God sees us. I think that the audiobook was really good as well, but yeah, I think it's just a great Christian fiction book. The next book that I picked up was Beartown by Frederick Bachman, and this was my first Frederick Bachman book, and I really, really liked it. It wasn't what I was expecting. You know, you hear about this book, if you don't know, the plot synopsis is we're essentially following this town in Sweden going bankrupt. It's very run down. They really don't have a lot for them like economically, but they do have a hockey team that's doing really well, and they're like banking on it so that it can bring money back into the community. Businesses will be booming. We are following many different characters in this book, which I really, really enjoy. And I know a lot of people talk about like Frederick Bachman writes characters so realistically. The way that he describes his characters is as if you know this character, you know someone in your life who is just like this person, and that is so true. I really enjoyed that about this book. It was so real, but I was very surprised with the incident that we follow. It was not what I was expecting, and I really enjoyed that we talked about this tough subject. So definitely trigger warning in this book. I definitely recommend looking it up if you are triggered by certain things, but also if you're not triggered by a lot of things, maybe don't look it up, because it kind of is nice to go in blind and be surprised and just like experience it as everybody in the town is experiencing it. I really, really enjoyed how we explored what people will turn a blind eye on just so that they can get something that they want. It was really, really well done. I also really liked how we talked about like what parents will do for their kids. We really explored a couple different parents and how they are impacted by their children. And as a parent, I really, really enjoyed that. It was really well done. Frederick Bachman, man, he just writes characters. He writes people in such a real way. And I know a lot of people say that, but it's true, and I'm excited to read more. Frederick Bachman has just like phenomenal storytelling, phenomenal characters, phenomenal writing. We all know this. We've all heard this. If you are on BookTube community, like, you know this. The next book I picked up is Prince Caspian in the Chronicles of Narnia series. This is the fourth book. Yeah, this is the fourth book. I picked this up because I started reading the Chronicles of Narnia series, I think like 2 years ago. So I read like the first 3 and I was looking on my shelf and I'm like, you know what? I should probably finish this series because I love Chronicles of Narnia, especially The Magician's Nephew. Like that's one of my favorite. I feel like it's not talked about enough. I think it's actually becoming a movie, but it's really, really good. I liked Prince Caspian. It wasn't my favorite. I think it's really fun to be in this world. It's very whimsy. It's very magical. It's fun. They're very short books. I wasn't a huge fan of Prince Caspian's story. I liked when we saw the old gang and them coming back, but like the story itself, the plot itself wasn't my favorite, but I still think it's really cute if you like the Chronicles of Narnia, and if you like the movie, maybe pick up the book and see if you like that as well. The next book I picked up was The Freedom of Self-forgetfulness by Timothy Keller. Now this book is literally so small. Like all of you guys could pick this up and read it in one sitting. I promise you it's so fast and so easy, but it packs a punch. This is a Christian fiction book and we talk about forgetting ourselves and having humility and what humility looks like in the Christian world, in the Christian viewpoint. In the world that we live in, we are always constantly battling pridefulness and low self-esteem, and I feel like they're always a remedy for the other. If you're super prideful, like try to think less of yourself. If you're thinking less of yourself, think better about yourself. And as a Christian, we're not called to do either. We're just called to be humble, forget about ourselves. So we are following 1 Corinthians and we're following Paul, and we're following some scripture in this book. Like I said, it's really, really short, so it's not too much, but I do think it's a really great book to read, just if you need another reminder of humility and what that looks like as a Christian. Next book I picked up was The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. Now this book I was so intimidated to get into, but it was so good. So essentially what we are following in this book, I'm actually just going to read the back because I feel like it's kind of hard to describe it, but it says, we are following 4 people. The first is a surgeon forced to forsake healing to fight in the most brutal war of our time. The second is the assassin, a murderer who weeps as he kills. The third is a liar, a young woman who wears a scholar's mantle over the heart of a thief. And the last is the prince, a warlord whose eyes have opened to the ancient past as his thirst for battle wanes. There is a lot that happens in this book. There's a lot that I could describe to you guys, and probably take a whole video for me to describe this in any detail because it's just a lot. It's 1,000 pages long, but I highly recommend you go into it. I know it can be really intimidating because it's 1,000 pages long, but it's really cozy once you get into it, once you're like understanding of the world. The funny thing about this book is I read 1,000 pages and I still feel like we just got into the plot. And there's so many questions unanswered, but it's just so good. I'm so excited to read more. I'm so excited to jump into the Word of Radiance. So I highly recommend it. If you like Brandon Sanderson and you've been wanting to pick this up, but you've been kind of intimidated, I recommend that you just pick it up. The audiobook is really, really good as well. I highly recommend that you like can tandem listen and read it, or whatever floats your boat. Just pick up the book. It's so, so good. It was a 5-star for me. And the last book that I read in February was Firestorm by Nancy Mail. This is a Christian mystery book. This is actually the second one. There was the first one. It was called Mind Games, and it's the Kaylee Quinn Profiler series. But we are following Katie, who is a profiler. And in this book, her mother has cancer. So she has to go take care of her. And simultaneously, while she's taking care of her, she's in this new town. And there seems to be a lot of fires that are happening that are a little bit not normal. She is like, there's something going on here. And she wants to look more into it, but she's not obviously on the job. She's trying to help her mother. So she dabbles into it, and we're following basically her story and how she uncovers who this arsonist is, who this killer is, what's going on. Like I said, it's also a Christian mystery book, so we're also following elements of Christianity. I like these books. Like, they're good. They're good, but they're not like my favorite. I rated this book a 3.5 star. I think the Mind Games one was a little bit better than this one. I feel like the plot twist at the end wasn't really that like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? It was more like, oh, I don't know. It wasn't my favorite. I feel like the first one I was definitely more surprised, but I think it's good. If you are a Christian and you want to read like a Christian mystery book, I highly recommend you pick these up because I think that you may enjoy them, but it's a little cheesy, but it's okay. I still liked it enough to enjoy it, and I recommend it to you guys. So that obviously says that I liked it enough. All right, guys. So those were all the books that I read in February. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you read in February and if you liked it or recommend it, but I hope you guys have a good rest of your day, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.